Boxing family, what's up, chat? It's your man Sean Zittel holding it down from the elaborate, illustrious, high-tech studios here in the basement in Las Vegas for another live round by round. And I should have probably went live about 30 minutes ago because we could have joined together for what was an awesome fight for Abdullah Mason just now. 4 knockdowns total in 2 rounds. He got dropped twice. He dropped his opponent twice. He gets the knockout in 2 rounds. He got hurt pretty good on 2 left hooks, getting caught in between shots. You know, Abdullah's a southpaw. He's trying to wing the left uppercut in close and kind of, well, actually his hand was up on the first knockdown. Hand was a little down on the second knockdown, and the other guy was able to punch inside of that with the left hook twice and drop Abdullah Mason. But Abdullah responded pretty good. He got up, dropped the guy, then he got dropped again, and then the next round he settled down and gets the knockout. Kind of like 2 flash knockdowns. He was never on Queer Street. He was never out on his feet kind of thing. I mean, there were 2 legit knockdowns, hard knockdowns, but at the same time, kind of flash knockdowns. Kind of like Virgil Ortiz against Boachuk, where they recovered. By the time they were up on their feet, they were already recovered from getting dropped. But still, it's 2 knockdowns. But more of a growing pains moment, and more on growing pains in just a second, but more of a growing pains moment, kind of like Oscar De La Hoya going down against Molina early in his career, Ali getting dropped by, Doug Jones early in his career, kind of, Trinidad went down a lot, Marquez went down a lot early in their careers, and then they hop right back up, and then they score a knockout. Way too early to do what I just did, which is compare Abdullah Mason to those guys, but and then maybe if Abdullah Mason wasn't prospect of the year by people like myself included, you'd hold it against him more for getting dropped twice in a fight he's supposed to dominate. But I think those were more flash knockdowns, and he got up and finished the job immediately. So I'm still extreme. None of that made me want to sell my Abdullah Mason stock. But as I just keep getting older, and I've been covering this sport 18 years now. We're in 2024, been covering it 18 years now. And more I understand why the old heads don't like it when we rush to crown fighters, because they've seen a lot of talented, young, promising fighters with that youthful promise to them, hand speed, and not everybody makes it. Not everybody makes it. And there's whether, Francisco Bojado or back in the day, Michael Grant, Carlos Balderas, killer Carlos Balderas, who lost to Rene Tellez Guidon, the guy that Kid Austin got dropped by. Not everybody's going to make it. Not every Kid Kansas, a month or 2 ago, undefeated, fast hands, gets knocked out by a guy with 1 knockout. Anything can happen in the hurt business. And I just get, before, I used to think old heads were, not being bitter or anything, but I don't know. I couldn't fully grasp why they were so hesitant to give a young talent with fast hands or what have you and not say that's clearly a future world champion. I usually rush to say those things, and I'm usually, more right than I am wrong. I remember Raymond Ford, his 4th or 5th fight, saying I think he's going to be a world champion. But I thought Carlos Balderas could be a champion. I thought Gabe Flores Jr. could be a world champion. Carlos Balderas, Gabe Flores, Kid Kansas. These are kids with speed, that youthful promise to them, and not everybody's going to make it. So, even with Abdullah Mason, we got to wait and see. But I'm not willing to sell any of my stock. I still thought he looked pretty good. But let me say what's up to the chat. What's up, John Doe? What's up, Mr. Quake? What's up, Titus213? Real recognized real. Molly Mall, thank you for the super chat. Molly Mall starting it off saying, I'm still betting that Abdullah Mason cooks Andy Cruz. I think, too early on for Abdullah right now. I think he projects as a professional to beat Andy Cruz, but, I mean, I don't even think he's 20 years old yet, is Abdullah Mason. I'd have to buy. He might have just turned 20, but he's a baby and doesn't have his man strength yet and still has some growing pains to go through. Tay-Day, what's up, Tay-Day? Says, I got Keyshawn by TKO. Playa Sports says, I hope Lemos wins. Sean, how is this fight between Keyshawn and Lemos going to go? It's going to go good, but let me quickly play a song for Abdullah Mason tonight, because he went through growing pains. Kid Austin last week getting dropped. Growing pains. I thought the Ludacris song "Growing Pains" would be more likely to get copyright, so let's see if we get away with this one. You and me, we gotta be. Wait, guitar coming again. Hold on. Can take anything that comes their way. So there you go. Kid Austin. Come on, where's my old school people that remember Growing Pains? So yeah, Kid Austin and Abdullah Mason going through their growing pains, but getting through it. Anyways, for main event time, I'm gonna favor Keyshawn, but there is makings of an upset tonight. I got Keyshawn, but Keyshawn's got thin legs, and to borrow a phrase from the old school, he looks light in the ass sometimes. Not a lot of muscle on those legs, which help you absorb the punches. And then sometimes, because he's kind of a tall lightweight, kind of a tall lean frame, not like a Tommy Hearns at lightweight or that like that, but he's more on the tall lean side of the build at 135 and got those thin legs. I think his chin's going to get tested tonight. And I think if he could hold up to certain moments and sequences from Gustavo Lemos, it's going to say a lot about his chin and his toughness, both of which were on display against Miguel Medueno, that last fight against Mexico's Miguel Medueno. But Lemos is better than Medueno. He has better hand speed. He puts together combinations better. He's just a better offensive fighter in the pocket than Medueno, who had slower hands, had power, but wasn't as offensively proficient as Gustavo Lemos. Lemos looks like Brian Castano, is from Argentina like Brian Castano, and throws combination. He could put his punches together with pretty good hand speed in the inside like Brian Castano. He's pretty good. His only loss was to Hitchens. He's a good enough fighter that Hitchens just barely getting by him earned him a shot at a world title at 140. So this is a legit guy. The downside for Keyshawn is that he's fighting a guy who has real power, not a bona fide puncher or like that, not a concussive knockout artist, but a solid puncher who's coming in a whole weight class above him, and is coming in a weight class above him. But the bright side for Keyshawn about that is he gets to prove himself in two separate weight classes in one fight tonight. I tweeted that earlier today. Because Lemos blew the weight, Keyshawn, who's been calling out all the lightweights and all the lightweights that have moved up to light welterweight, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, all the guys who used to campaign at 135, he's been calling them out too. And they would be able to dismiss him easier before tonight if he can win, because they could say he's a lightweight. Why? First of all, he's never been in a title fight. He hasn't beaten anybody, and he's a lightweight. So, if you're Teofimo Lopez, who he called out, I'm at 140 and I'm on the championship level. This guy is neither in my weight class nor is he on the championship level. It's not like beating Lemos tonight is going to get him a shot at Ryan Garcia, Teo, or Devin next, but it proves in one night that he could compete with both top dogs at 140 and at 135 by beating a guy who's a weight class above him. So particularly if Richardson Hitchens goes on to beat Liam Paro, which is a 50-50 type fight, if he beats Liam Paro, then this win, if he could win tonight, ages really well for Keyshawn, and it 100% proves he's ready for the championship level, because a lot of people thought Lemos beat Hitchens. I thought Hitchens acted out, toughed it out and got the nod in a close fight. But if Hitchens goes on to beat Paro, and a lot of people think Lemos beat Hitchens, and Keyshawn can beat Lemos tonight, then that shows you get my point. That shows that he's legit at 135 and at 140 all in one night. So I think Keyshawn will win because I'm American, right? I don't know. But no, I think he'll win because he's an excellent talent who has given us flashes of maybe something special, if not really good. His creativity as a combination puncher, and once he settles down and is comfortable, he can be very dynamic offensively with his combinations, the punch selection in the combinations, and his ability to pull counter, to counter punch in between punches, mix it up to the head and the body with both hands, with hand speed, and again, a diverse array of punches in his selection, in his repertoire. The thing is, though, Keyshawn likes to keep you on the end of his combinations and, has some good body work. So obviously he knows how to handle himself on the inside, probably better than Richardson Hitchens, but at the same time, he'll clinch a lot on the inside too, and he prefers to get his offense out at mid-range as opposed to in close. So if Lemos is defensively responsible enough to cut the distance, get inside on Keyshawn where he's a weight class heavier, he can test Keyshawn's chin, test those skinny legs, and test Keyshawn's inside game. Because even though Keyshawn mixes in some very nice body shots, and he's a good offensive fighter with good pop in both hands, he likes to keep you on at the end of those combinations at a certain distance, and Lemos likes to get his work done a little bit closer than where Keyshawn likes to get his work done. So, as in all high-level fights, the battle of the distance, who can control the range, the real estate, that's half the battle for Keyshawn Davis tonight. If Lemos can't get past the jab and can't get past the longer arms of Keyshawn, keeping him on the end of his shots, on the end of his combinations, then he may not have to worry too much about the excellent work Lemos gets done on the inside, because Lemos won't get there very often. But if he has to fight it out, Madueno, again, who's not as fast, not as good as Lemos, if he was able to cut the distance a number of times against Keyshawn, then maybe Lemos will be able to too. Anyways, I got Keyshawn, but it could be an upset. We'll see. What's up, Gustavo Fontalba? How much did Keyshawn weigh on fight night? They didn't tell us. They only gave us Lemos's weight at 155, which is exactly what I predicted. I got to look at Keyshawn tonight, but if I had to predict, Keyshawn's going to be hovering around 150 pounds. I think, both guys probably gained about the standard 10 to 15 pounds. Lemos gained about 15. I think Keyshawn will put on 15, but he came in 6 pounds lighter, so he'll probably be about 5 or 6 pounds lighter on fight night. But So we got my man Troy Eisley, the Transformer. My man Boog, L-Dub Boxing is in the building. What's good, Boog? Lakers in top rank tonight. Marvelous serve. Aren't the Lakers at 500? They started off hot at 3-0, but now they're 1-4 since. I don't know, man. LeBron, greatest small forward ever. Some would argue greatest player ever. I would argue Michael Jordan ahead of him, but it maybe a couple others, maybe. But, maybe giving LeBron too much control of that franchise, and it's going to backfire against him this year. He's got no scapegoats. Anthony Davis is playing amazing. He's got his coach in J.J. Redick. So no Darvin Ham to blame. No Russell Westbrook to blame. We'll see how it goes for LeBron. But what's my prediction for the Eisley fight? I expect Troy to keep winning. Troy is a grinder. He's what I think, the highest caliber of what a Troy Eisley is like my friend Sean Porter and my guy Tim Bradley. Overachievers, grinders with skill. Grinders, guys that really got to beat you up with an accumulation of punchers. They don't really have a lot of power. And, although they could hurt you, but they don't have a lot of power, but they're in dog shape. Look at Troy Eisley. We start round one. Troy Eisley is built, like an Evander Holyfield, like a Tim Bradley. Not as short for his weight as Tim Bradley was at welterweight, but, these are guys that their path to success is being a grinder with skills. And that's what I think Troy Eisley's projection is. That's what I think Robert Merriweather III, who fought on the preliminaries tonight, same kind of path to success. When you're not when okay, you're athletic, but you're not the most athletic. You're not blazing fast. You don't have crazy reflexes. You know, you're a good, decent athlete, but you're not a big puncher. So you're fast, but you're not the fastest. In Sean and Tim and Troy's case, you're physically strong, but not a hard puncher. So your path to success is a grinder with skills, and that's what I think Troy Eisley is rounding into, being in dog shape, grinding out fights, and just having a good wherewithal, a good overall skill set. You know, even if you're not the master Shakur Stevenson, you know, Floyd Mayweather type boxer, even if you're not a great puncher like Arthur Beterbiev or a crazy athlete like Inoue or Pacquiao, you gotta be a grinder with skill and tremendous conditioning, and that's what I think Troy Eisley's game is about. He's gonna have to beat eventually when he fights at Janabek, you know, a more talented fighter, a guy with more firepower, a guy with more length, and he'll have to outdo it with focus, will, conditioning, balls, and some skill too. Round one, and Troy Eisley just measuring, stalking Howard a little bit. Howard giving some movement, trying to give some angles, and Eisley being, you know, patient with the jab, just trying to find range with the jab first. And Howard trying to give little side steps and little angles. Nice left hook by Troy Eisley off the jab, knowing where Howard was first, being consistent with his jab even when it's falling short. Now he jabs to the body. Eisley being consistent with that jab in round one. Hands up high. You know, Eisley with the hands up high, again, because he's not a crazy athlete. I was watching some amazing sparring earlier today from the Kronk Gym YouTube. You know, watching Gerald McClellan, Tommy Hearns, James Toney, Michael Moore, Matthew Saeed Muhammad, and all these guys, because of their tremendous level of talent, are able to fight with the lead hand low. And that's kind of the staple of a blessed fighter, at least in the United States, is lead hand low. When you're not as gifted and you got to rely on the fundamentals a little bit more, that's when you tend to have a guy like Troy Eisley have to keep the hands up. That doesn't go for everybody. There have been fighters blessed with lots of speed from America that fight with that high guard, Oscar De La Hoya, Evander Holyfield. But yeah, usually, you know, a guy like Eisley has got to keep the hands up, at least until he gets a ton of pro experience under his belt, and then he can trust other little wrinkles in his game, stance-wise, defensively. But right now, again, Troy, a good athlete, but not a crazy athlete, coming with that high guard, starting with the jab, using solid fundamentals to get himself started here. And I thought he won round one. Right now, they're showing Keyshawn Davis in the back. He's doing a little interview. Let me hear what he's saying real quick. Keyshawn dealing with the pressure good, and it's good to see an American fighter being built in his hometown where they can actually sell instead of fighting in front of 1,000 or 1,500 people here in Las Vegas. I mean, that makes it easier for me. I get to actually watch them drive down the street, but it's better for the sport in America that you build guys at home first before you get them to the Las Vegas level. And so it's a good look for Keyshawn Davis. He's got a tough task on his hands. He's fighting a guy a weight class bigger who's got power, got some speed. But if he can show out and beat up Lemos tonight, you know, he resonates with Virginia. And now Top Rank and Keyshawn know, okay, we got a spot on the map that we could always go to and sell 10,000 tickets, which is reportedly what he sold tonight. There's got to be some free tickets mixed in there. Maybe the prices weren't that expensive, but still 10,000 seats sold for really a prospect transitioning to contender. That's a good thing for American boxing. So, man, I got a super chat from my man MAW who said, hello, boxing fans, Sean and chat. When does Keyshawn get the title shot if he beats Lemos? Will 135 pounds ever unify? Subscribe, share, and smash that like button, folks. I appreciate you, MAW. You know, and I'll keep us updated on the Troy Eisley-Howard fight. But, you know, I think Keyshawn, if he gets by tonight, I think tonight is probably the tougher fight for him than Denis Berinchyk. And, you know, Bakram Murtazaliev is, he's Russian. He's not Ukrainian like Denis Berinchyk, but I kind of wrote off Bakram Murtazaliev as the weakest of the junior middleweight title holders, and then he puts Tim Tszyu on his ass a half dozen times, knocks him out, blows away my prediction for that fight, and shows he's not the weakest of the world champions at 154. He's now in the discussion for being the strongest, the most feared of the 154-pound champions. So, I could ultimately bite my tongue on Denis Berinchyk for the same reason, but I just think Berinchyk got a fat, out-of-shape Emmanuel Navarrete. Berinchyk is good, but he's no Lomachenko. He's not the real Ukrainian lightweight champion. That's Lomachenko. So I say that to say I think Keyshawn Davis could handle Berinchyk next, and this is probably a tougher fight than what Berinchyk would be for Keyshawn tonight against Lemos. So thank you for the super chat. Blueprint GB said, Tony Todd died, a.k.a. Candyman. No. Who is that, Blueprint GB? Was that a fighter? Is that like a 90s fighter? Gustavo Fontalba saying, what's up, Carlos Salva? Gustavo Fontalba said, Lemos has some resemblance, you could say, but he's not this generation's Maidana at all. No, Gustavo, he's Brian Castano. That's who Gustavo Lemos most reminds me of. Easily. Argentina's Brian Castano. Arguably should have been undisputed in the first Jamel Charlo fight, got knocked out in the rematch. But, yeah, I think he's a spitting image, both looks and style-wise and build-wise and hand-speed combination on the inside-wise of Brian Castano. He's a 140-pound Brian Castano. So Eisley in round 2, a nice slow-mo, hooking off the jab nicely on Howard there. And that's really what Eisley set up in those first 2 rounds, just being fundamentally sound, starting with the jab, textbook fundamentals, and then hooking off the jab, knowing where Howard's at. Howard's trying to give a lot of little side steps, a lot of little movements, but I think he's a little timid against a guy with the pedigree of Troy, and so he's taking his side steps, he's taking his angles, but he's not letting his hands go a whole lot. And Troy is being patient. Troy's finding him with the jab first and taking it from there. So, yeah, 20-18. He means actor from the movie Candyman. No, I never saw Candyman. The actor who played Candyman. Okay, no, I never saw Candyman. No, can't say I did. Good movie? I imagine so. If you guys are bummed about it, it's probably a good movie. So here we go, round 3. Troy shooting the jab, shooting the straight right hand of the body. Shooting the jab. Nice jab from Troy Eisley. Just good textbook stuff. Nothing special. Not a lot of special effects like Floyd Mayweather would call it. But good, USA boxing style transitioning to the pros. 1-2 by Howard. Eisley backing up, getting a little bit of bounce in his feet, catching those shots on the gloves. Troy Eisley lowering that hand just a little bit to throw the jab up, a little bit of an up jab, not from the hip or nothing crazy like that. He keeps his hands pretty high. Eisley not landing the jab a whole lot, but keeping it out there, keeping everything in front of him defensively. Good jab again by Eisley, jab to the body. Back comes Howard with his jab up top. And Howard just trying to shoot a straight right hand over the top of Eisley's jab, but Eisley keeping his eyes open, expecting something coming back. And kind of waiting for Howard to keep trying to cut the distance and walking into that hook, keeping him on the end of the jab and then eventually letting Howard take a chance, try to cut the distance and walk him into the hook off the jab. And then once Howard really tries to plant his feet and stay in front of Eisley, I think that's when you'll see Eisley get to his body, let go of some more combinations in the pocket. But right now, Howard trying to kind of counterpunch Troy Eisley, but Eisley not giving him a whole lot to counter and kind of dictating off the jab. Both guys trading their jabs. Howard trying to move his upper body a little bit, trying to create something in between, over the top of Eisley's jab, but Eisley, again, is expecting a counter coming over the top of his jab, keeping his eyes wide open. letting the jab still go, and in position, balance-wise, and with his backhand, his brick hand, to let go of his own right hand if Howard tries to commit to a shot over the top of his jab. So not a lot of excitement in these first 3 rounds. Really just Eisley winning this fight off his jab early on. Even though it's not landing a whole lot, he just landed it really well with about 25 seconds left. But just winning the round off his jab, because Howard can't get a hold of the distance. Now a 1-2 from Eisley. And Eisley, I think, took that 1-2 because he saw Howard kind of giving up on the outside, kind of getting a little bit frustrated, being kept at bay with the jab. And so as Eisley kind of sensed that he was no longer looking to pull the right hand over the top of the jab, he mixed the right hand in behind it, was able to land a 1-2. 3-0 Troy Eisley. Howard trying to work up kind of the courage, the gall, to take more chances because he's being outboxed by the jab on the outside right now, 3-0. So, Brendan Tibbeholt says, do I think Eisley is fighting too flat-footed? That's actually a good observation, Brendan, because, well, I mean, keep it simple, stupid, right? Like that worked for Daniel Dubois. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. That kept it, that won the fight for Daniel Dubois against Anthony Joshua. Just kind of feet planted, jab first, and take it from there. And you know, don't reach, don't over, you know, and take what's kind of the defense is giving you kind of thing. Although Dubois eventually smashed through that front door and made it happen. He didn't just take what Joshua gave him. But what I mean is he kept it simple. He kept it flat-footed behind his jab. And Troy is winning the fight doing that. But you bring up a fair observation because maybe he could get jazzy. Maybe he could get more dynamic, more creative, less stiff. And like I compared him to Holyfield's build a little bit earlier. Well, Holyfield would get up on those toes with that jab and create some combinations off turning his man off his jab. So that's a fair observation by Brendan there. But so far so good. Round 4, Eisley is in the first 30 seconds letting go of some more punches now behind his jab. Still with those feet a little flat. Now he drops his lead hand for the first time, so I think Eisley's getting a little comfortable. Picks that lead hand back up, feints, hands up high, still leading with the jab. A lot of those combinations not getting through in that first 30 seconds because Howard is being very defensive right now. Howard is just looking for kind of the perfect openings here and there, looking for Eisley to make mistakes and capitalize off of them, but not doing a whole lot of leading, not doing a whole lot of creating, really at most just jabbing with Troy Eisley, and then again looking to see if Eisley overcommits or Eisley makes a mistake so that Howard could take advantage of that. But fighting a very kind of cautious fight is Kevin Howard. Not on his bike, not using too much movement, you know, actually having good footwork here and there and a good jab, but not following up, not taking any chances. And Eisley's jab is just a little bit better, and so he's winning this fight. Eisley, little short left uppercut, little left hook, straight right hand of the body, falls short halfway through the 4th round. And Eisley just getting off first, has the better jab, out-jabbing Howard. And again, Howard not able to get past the jab, not cutting the distance, not taking chances. That jab is keeping him on a leash. Good jab by Troy Eisley. Now Eisley eats a jab that knocks his head up as Eisley trying to double and triple up the jab to the body and the head. Finally, Howard gets a jab through himself. Minute left in the 4th round. Howard coming forward, bending his knees, trying to give some different looks, but not letting go of much. Now he lets go of a right hand over the top of a short little left hook to set up the right hand. Nice jab to the body by Howard. Howard trying to find a rhythm in there. Eisley lowers his lead hand, tries to catch and shoot a left hook on Kevin Howard in the center of the ring. Not Kevin Howard, but Howard, excuse me, in the center of the ring. Eisley getting caught with a left hook a little bit in there as Howard hooked off the jab. Howard finding the mark a little bit more here in the last minute, getting closer to the target with his punches as, you know, Eisley's rhythm a little bit, getting a little predictable behind that jab right now. 10 seconds left in the round. Eisley, for the first time, getting backed up a little bit. And that's what Howard lets go of a straight right hand. Eisley blocks it. But in that last minute of work there, I think Howard had a little bit more success And you see his trainer giving him a look like, okay, we need more of that. Howard's got to fight. Howard is shown that he has some good movement with his feet, shows that he's got a decent jab, moves his upper body, bends his knees a little bit. He's going to have to take some chances because he's behind 4-0 to the top-ranked prospect on the top-ranked show. Eisley doing a lot of his normal Troy Eisley stuff. Fundamentally sound, not a lot of special effects. Workman-like guy. Putting his work in, putting his rounds in, winning most of the rounds. But I'd like to see Howard open it up a little bit and give Eisley more to think about coming his way. And then also give Eisley more of a chance to let his hands go in the pocket, in range. So, Abdullah Mason gets knocked out nasty by Emiliano Vargas. Mason has a glass chin. Got to be able to take it as good as you give it. And Mason is made of glass. I think Zach Randolph, that's an overstatement. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if you see something like that happen to Emiliano Vargas at some point in his stage as a prospect, because both guys trust their speed and they run red lights. Guys like Abdullah Mason, Kid Austin, Emiliano Vargas. And unlike the generation that preceded them with Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis, who's a knockout artist, but a cautious knockout artist, these guys are getting dropped earlier on. Emiliano hasn't yet. But because they're trying to be exciting. They're trying to put together flashy combinations and getting caught in the process. So, I don't know. I think Emiliano is for sure going to be a world champion. For sure has great hand speed and talent and has the look of a star. But no, I'm not ready to say Abdullah Mason's made of glass because he got dropped a couple times as a prospect. It happens. So I think they both are two of the brightest prospects in boxing. Emiliano's got a lot more marketability upside to him. But I think Abdullah Mason, despite getting dropped twice, probably projects to have a little bit more defensive nuance to his style. But, we'll see. We'll see. I'm very high on both of them. So Tyler Howard usually lands 9 power shots a round. Tonight he's landing 1 a round. And that, again, speaks to my point. He's not letting his hands go a whole lot. He's not taking a lot of chances, is Howard. So Tyler Howard, cousin of Dwight Howard. In case you didn't know that, just kidding. They may look alike, but they're not actually related. But quick straight right hand by Troy Eisley, punching in between Tyler Howard, finally coming forward and trying to put together a combination. And Troy gets his back off the ropes and shoots a perfect straight right hand. Not a lot of power on it. But landing on Tyler Howard. Tyler Howard coming forward a little bit more now. Still having to walk through Troy Eisley's jab. Eisley with good timing on that jab. And then shoots a straight right hand and a left hook to the body. Howard keeping his defense tight to block those 2 shots. Back comes Howard with his jab, but he eats the jab of Troy Eisley. Continues to get out-jabbed. Has a good jab himself, but Eisley's doing a very good job of keeping his right hand at home, catching and shooting with the jab over and over again. And that's letting him out-jab Tyler Howard. Howard coming forward again. Eisley checks him with a little short left hook. Bounces up on his toes a little bit. Plants his feet again. Back near the ropes for Troy Eisley. Hands up. Shoots the jab 2 times. Straight right hand to the body by Howard. But Eisley ties him up right after that. 15 seconds left. It's another Troy Eisley round. Howard on the front foot more this round. But just can't get off a whole lot. Just can't get off. Second guessing his distance. And, Eisley keeping him on a leash largely behind the jab. And again, this isn't exciting, but it does show you why the jab is so important. Eisley's landed some short left hooks, but it's really been because of the product of the jab. And just knowing his distance at all times and then shortening it up to a left hook when he knows Howard's a little closer than normal. But really just winning this fight off his jab. And Howard, at times, matching the jab, throwing a good jab himself. But again, Troy keeping the right hand at home, catching and shooting, parrying and landing his own jab. And Howard really just doesn't have too many answers for that beyond that yet. So Tyler gets the KO in round 8, says RJ. Haney stops Ryan in a rematch. He won rounds 1 through 6. he actually lost the first and 6th round. I thought Haney was up 58-56 after 6 rounds. But he actually lost round 6. Ryan hurt him in the 6th and hurt him in the 1st. I thought he won both of those rounds. And then Devin won 2, 3, 4, and 5. But anyways, back to Troy Eisley and Tyler Howard. I do not think Tyler Howard's getting a knockout in the 8th. I think we're on our way to another Troy Eisley workman-like unanimous decision. You know, just pretty much customary stuff from Troy Eisley. Eisley doing a good job tonight, hooking off the jab. Does that again. Lets the jab out there 2 or 3 times. Then something comes back from Howard, and then he hooks off that jab. And nice straight right hand to the body by Eisley. Left hook to the body by Eisley. Keeping his hands up. Catching what's coming back pretty well. Troy trying to step forward a little bit behind the jab now after Howard was on the front foot in the 5th. Troy trying to let go, sit down on his power shots behind his jab a little bit more in the 6th round. Eisley, nice 1-2, sets up a left uppercut in the center of the ring for Troy Eisley. And Howard, man, just not letting his hands go. Howard pawing with the jab twice, coming forward. Eisley trying to walk him into something. Steps out to his right, does Eisley. Jab falls short for Howard. Eisley steps out to his right a little bit more in the center of the ring. Keeps stepping out to his right. Bounces a little bit. Fakes like he's going to go to his left. Steps to his right. Short with the jab is Eisley. Back near the ropes now from Eisley. Howard's got to take some chances here. Trades jab with Eisley, but nothing. Oh, good right hand by Troy Eisley and a left uppercut. Beautiful job by Troy Eisley there. Straight right hand gets in for Tyler Howard. He got in something in that sequence too with Eisley kind of backing away near the ropes, but that was a beautiful job by Troy of being patient, and having good timing. Good timing against Tyler Howard. Sensed when Howard was going to open up, shot the straight right hand, got underneath what was coming back, and finished up with a left uppercut. Good sequence there for Troy Eisley. Howard, lead hand by his waist, picks it back up, shifting his weight around a little bit, but not taking chances, and gets caught with a short right hand on the inside. Howard letting go of his shots on the inside, but not really with any method, just letting his hands go, not placing the shot, and Troy placed a little short chopping right hand in the inside in between that combination attempt by Howard. But Howard is just got no sense of comfort in there. He doesn't know when to let go of something. Short right hand by Troy. Good jab to the body by Troy. He's smothered. He tightens up, gets close, and then lets go of a straight right hand in close. And Eisley with a couple of good shots this round against Tyler Howard. 6-0 Troy Eisley. So what else we going to talk about, chat? Sean just said he had Haney winning the fight until he got dropped. Saying Haney stops Ryan is bigger. Rewatch the fight, not the highlights. I mean, yeah, I thought Haney was up 58-56, but he did lose the 1st and the 6th. But no, I don't know. I really don't know about a Haney-Ryan rematch. That's why we got to see it. Part of me sees their sparring clip from when they were teenagers from years ago, and I saw it a couple weeks ago. It was only 59 seconds, but I saw it and I thought, you know what? Ryan just might have Devin's number. Styles make fights. Devin beats you on the outside, but he's up against a guy where he's outgunned in power. And even though he's not as sophisticated a boxer as Devin Haney on the outside, he's actually faster than him on the outside. So it's not a good style for Devin. Maybe Ryan's just got his number. And then Haney, who's always kept his right hand a little bit low, lead hand low, you tend to get away with that when you're as athletic, as fast, or ideally faster than the other guy. And he doesn't have that edge against Ryan Garcia. And so, you know, his reflexes aren't able to get him out of the way. And this isn't home to catch the left hook. Maybe it's just a bad style matchup. Maybe Ryan's just got his number. Or Ryan blew weight, popped for PEDs, and when he has to make weight, and doesn't test positive for a PED, he's just not as good as Devin Haney, and Devin will win a rematch the way everyone thought he was going to win the first time around. None of us really know that which of those is true until they do it again. Haney's got to rebuild first. Like, Cotto didn't rematch Margarito for 4 years, and Manny Pacquiao and Shane Mosley beat the stuffing out of Margarito before Cotto got dibs on him 4 years later. So, there's got to be a little bit of a recovery period for Haney. But yeah, I don't know. The rematch could either be Ryan Garcia just has Haney's number, or Garcia doesn't have that edge over Haney when he makes weight the same weight Haney, and the drug tests come out clean for both guys. We really don't know until they do it again. That's why they got to do it again. So yeah, let's get back to Troy Eisley. Not much to update here. Eisley, jab. The jab is key. It's not like he's landing it at will. He's landing it plenty. But it's just that the jab is dictating. For right now, just as I say it, 2 jabs with a little over a minute left in the 7th. And Howard can't find answers past that jab. And, like Teddy Atlas says, 90% of this game is mental. And you see some of that from Howard, because you see things from Howard. He's able to feint. He's able to move his upper body. When he lets his own jab go, even though Eisley's parrying it and out jabbing him, it's a sharp jab. So that tells you the guy's got some sharpness to his punches. He can move his upper body a little bit. There's some life in his feet. But he doesn't have any confidence or belief that he can come up with the answers and take the chances on offense to get to Eisley. Eisley has a lot of his respect in there. And Howard's fighting like a guy who knows he's the B-side. And, Eisley, we're closing down shop here in round 7, and it's all Troy Eisley. And, Eisley's not getting... There's a good combination by Eisley. Jab, right hand, left hook to the body, left hook to the head, left hook to the body. Good clean 4-punch combination there by Troy Eisley. And I like the work Eisley does when he puts punches together in the pocket, but he hasn't had to do that a lot tonight. He's just winning the fight with his jab. So... we have Bill Haney in the chat. Bill Haney says, my son beats Troy Eisley and Keyshawn Davis. Well, Bill, I think the Keyshawn fight makes more sense at some point, Bill, than the middleweight Troy Eisley. Good to have you in the chat, Bill Haney. We got to smoke weed sometime. Titus says he loves when I add animations to the commentary. I appreciate it, man. Bill Haney says that his son beats Usyk. That's what's up. Hey, Titus, remember to let the trolls, let anyone who has bad things to say, always let them in, Titus. We're in the marketplace of ideas. This is the free marketplace of ideas. This is America. So if people think I suck or my opinions suck, let them through, Titus. But I love you for holding it down with the moderating. So appreciate it. Will Inoue and Tank meet at 130 one day? They are the same height. No, I think, Inoue won his first title at 108. Let Tank fight the guys that will test how great a fighter he is in, the Keyshawns, the Shakurs, the Teofimos, the Haneys, the Ryan Garcia rematch at a weight where Ryan Garcia isn't drained. And, because Tank could conceivably beat all of them. He just has to prove it. And as for Inoue, he's got plenty of smoke at 26, and he's got unfinished business at 22. He's got to see Junto Nakatani. That's a great fight. All right, so round 8. In the first 30 seconds, more combinations by Troy Eisley. Starting to punch with bad intentions. Good right hand by Eisley. Off an uppercut, too. Jab, right hand, uppercut. Eisley putting together some combinations to start the 8th round. And sitting down on his shots beautifully. Looking sharp. Eisley taking little half steps back. Dropping his lead hand a little bit now. Picks it back up. Catches the jab of Howard. Straight right hand by Troy Eisley. Lands, and then he steps off to his right. 1, 2, 3 by Troy Eisley. Flashes some power there. Only 5 knockouts in 13 fights. But when Eisley does kind of sit down and really get some torque on his combinations, it looks like there's some power there that could surprise guys if they stay in the pocket. In this round, Eisley is throwing punches with badder intentions, I'll say. Starting to rip those combinations, get those hips into it. And a little bit of blood on the left eye of Tyler Howard, who's eating a lot of jabs. He eats a jab right there, tries to come forward. 1-2 by Eisley, caught on the high guard a little bit. Minute left in the 8th round. Eisley lands the jab, steps out to his right, bounces up on his toes a little bit, steps over to the right, back is near the ropes. Howard not letting go of anything, staying in range, but just look at, if you're watching at home, and I know a lot of you aren't, that's why you're tuned into the stream, but, you know, you just don't see that there's that lack of belief in Howard. He does some of the things he probably worked on to set up his offense. He feints, he bends his body around, takes an angle, but then he eats a jab, and he doesn't let anything go, and then he has to reset and do it all over again. Eisley not letting go of combinations down the stretch of this round after doing it in the first minute pretty well. But again, Howard isn't giving him a lot to punch in between, but you would like to see Eisley, who showed flashes of combinations earlier in the round. He's about 1 or 2 rounds now where he starts the round off with combinations, kind of setting his mind to it that, okay, you're not going to give me any work in the pocket. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to initiate. I'm going to create openings off the jab. And then down the stretch of that 8th round, Eisley didn't really do that. But he's up 8 rounds to nothing. So let's see what's up. Hey, what's up, Raul Gallardo? Says, I just got off work. Glad I made it. Salute to you, Sean. Always bringing the heat. As soon as they start cursing you out, disrespecting you, they could. Oh, you're all good, Titus. They could curse me out. They could curse me out, but I agree with you on family. They start talking about the kids or anybody, yes, go ahead and kick them out. But if they could call me a fucking douchebag or whatever, it's all good, Titus. We need the views, brother. We need the haters and the lovers in the chat. So all good. Let's see. Gustavo said for sure. Howard ain't doing a bit of nothing. Let's see. All right. Back to the action. And again, looks like we're just going to get an Eisley clean sweep. Mark Kriegel has the same scorecard I have, 8 rounds to nothing. Eisley, again, starting off round 9, trying to be a little more dynamic, throwing some combinations, some good body shots off the head work, and then, bang into the body, ripping the left hook to the body. And now he's staying in close, closing the gap, getting in the phone booth. Short little chopping right hand to the body by Eisley, keeping those hands up, trying to split the high guard with an uppercut off the jab to the body. 1-2 by Howard, but Eisley just keeping the gloves at home, parrying. Want to see Eisley push here. Push. The fight is won. This guy is a little intimidating. Straight right hand lands for Eisley off the jab. Howard ties him up in the center of the ring. Good straight right hand by Troy Eisley. Punching through the center off his jab. 2 minutes left in the 9th. Eisley measuring with the lead hand. Brings it back home. Jab to the body. Left hook to the body. Stiff arming with that jab. Howard ties him up again. About a minute 40 left in the 9th round. Want to see Eisley find the combinations off the jab here. He's got the fight won. Let's see if he could be dynamic here. He shows flashes of good combination punching. And nice uppercuts here and there. Knifing him through the middle, coming up the middle, coming up the gut with the uppercut, splitting the high guard. But, Eisley not getting that punch count too up there, though. Howard gets him on the ropes. Eisley with good defense off the ropes. Skates over to his right, back in the center of the ring. But then, this is a kind of opponent, when you're up 8 rounds to nothing, you want to see Eisley try to explore and grow facets of his game and put together the kind of offensive sequences that he'll need against a Janibek, because against a Janibek, just jabbing on the outside and being kind of conservative, he'll lose to Janibek fighting that way. the way he beats a guy like Janibek is in the pocket with combinations. And, we haven't seen that enough from Eisley, even though he's pretty much dominated this fight. But, Eisley continues to win these fights handily and put in some good rounds, but not blow anybody away by any means. 20 seconds left. And, again, Eisley started that round ripping some nice combos here and there, trying to be more creative offensively, sit down and use his movements to set up shots, big shots. But then as the round progressed, got a lot more conservative and didn't do a whole lot there, but win the round. So 9-0 for Troy Eisley. Random shit, but that Death Certificate album is underrated. From Ice Cube, yeah. What was on Death Certificate? Was Ghetto Bird on Death Certificate? I think so. Or was that The Predator? I think that was The Predator. The Predator is 93, right? And Death Certificate's 91. That's the one with no Vaseline, right? With Uncle Sam having someone dead with the blanket over him. That was Death Certificate, I think. Pretty sure. Death Certificate was 91, right? So, and then The Predator is 93. Gustavo said, does Howard have some type of paralysis? His right leg moves weird. Might be a little paralyzed by fear and hesitation against Troy Eisley. Fantasy fight. Who do you got? De La Hoya versus Bud at 147. Ooh. I'm going to go De La Hoya. I just think De La Hoya was from a better era than Terrence Crawford. And Crawford might have beaten Oscar. It might have looked a little bit like the Pernell Whitaker fight, except Bud's actually in his prime, unlike Sweet Pea. And he doesn't have as good a defense as Sweet Pea, but he hits a lot harder and has longer arms than Sweet Pea. He might have beaten Oscar, but Oscar was a beast, and boxing was just kind of better in that era of the early 2000s, late 90s. The competition was stiffer at welterweight. I think De La Hoya would have won, but 50-50 type fight. So here we go. In the 10th, Troy Eisley definitely on his way to probably like a 10-0. Oh, good right hand by Howard inside. He backs Eisley into the ropes. Eisley clinches, but a good straight right hand by Howard there. And, it's kind of like Howard landing that right. Good left uppercut by Howard and a straight right hand by Howard. Left hook to the body by Howard in a combination. Eisley is buzzed on the ropes. Where was this from Tyler Howard? I said, chat, that, left hook hurt Eisley. Eisley clinches on the ropes. And Howard should have done this earlier, but he didn't believe. And this is kind of like when an NFL offense is already down by 30 points, and then they start opening it up and making plays down the field, but it's too late. But Howard does have Eisley a little shook up here in the 10th round. Eisley's hurt. Eisley's a little buzzed. Halfway through, right hand for Howard again. And Eisley's going back in straight lines. He lands a straight right hand left hook, but Eisley's legs aren't underneath him. And I said it earlier. Howard was doing a lot of the right things to set up moments like he finally has in the 10th, but he wouldn't let it go. He lets it go here. It's probably going to be too little too late. About a minute left in this fight. Howard definitely landed the best punches of the night here in the 10th. He hurt Eisley here. Strong straight right hand and a left hook to the... Where was that from Howard all night? Now a left uppercut by Eisley off the left hook. Little left hook sets up a left uppercut for Eisley. Gets his back off the ropes, back in the center of the ring. Eisley does it again. Left hook, left uppercut. But Howard looking to counter. Looking to time Eisley. Howard's got to pick it up. Left hook lands for Howard. But Eisley landed a left hook too. I think both guys felt that left hook. Eisley showing his heart. Exchanging with Howard on shaky legs. But Howard knocking some of the gloss off of Eisley's win in the 10th round, because when he finally took his chance, he hurt Eisley. A good sequence of punches by Howard. Eisley ties him up on the ropes. This is definitely Howard's round, but too little too late. 8 seconds left. Eisley's going to make it through this moment, but he was hurt for a majority of that 10th round. 9-1, Troy Eisley, but a big 10th round for Tyler Howard. Chat, I feel like I called that fight well, because Howard had those moments were there throughout the fight for Howard, and he wouldn't walk through that front door. He wouldn't take the chances. It was mental. Physically, you could see this guy has bounce in his feet. He has some sharpness, some hand speed. He showed in the last round he has some power. He moved his upper body. He wasn't a stiff in there, but mentally he wouldn't pull the trigger. And he allowed Eisley to dominate a dull fight for 9 rounds. And then again, like, you guys know I cover the NFL too. Like an NFL team, I see the Raiders do this every week. They fall behind by 20, 30 points, and then they push the ball down the field. Then they throw, then they go 5 wide and take chances on offense. And what do you know? They get a late touchdown that doesn't mean anything. And that's kind of what Tyler Howard just did. He got some points on the board, way too little, way too late, and you think to yourself, well, if Tyler Howard does more of that earlier in the fight, it could have been a different or much more tighter, close fight, but he didn't. So 9 rounds to 1, Troy Eisley, and Troy continues to pile up wins, but not convince anybody he's the next middleweight champion. Because what he did tonight, it wouldn't have been enough against Adames or against Janibek. On the outside, he's not a good enough rangy boxer to outdo Janibek on the outside. Janibek is extremely good on the outside. Same thing with Hamza Shiraz. He with the jab that he was able to dominate a dull fight with for 9 rounds, that wouldn't be enough in his repertoire to get by on the outside against Hamza Shiraz or Janibek. And Troy's only had his 14th fight. He's still growing into himself as a contender. It's not a finished product. And then against Carlos Adames, he's not strong. He's good in the pocket. I think he's got some surprising power on the low in the pocket, but he's not as strong as Carlos Adames in the pocket. So, Eisley's going to have to continue to get better, continue to be a skilled grinder, like I said at the beginning of his fight. If he's going to win a title, he's going to have to be an overachiever. And Troy looks a little disappointed with himself. I've been covering Troy since he turned pro out of the Olympics, and this is a common scenario for Troy. He wins this fight. He clearly wins this fight, and yet he still feels like he's short of what he really wanted to do because he knows his performance isn't convincing. It's not convincing anybody. This is the next middleweight champion from the USA. So there you go. Yeah, not enough chances taken by Tyler Howard there. A clear unanimous decision for Troy Eisley. But, what you see from Troy Eisley here, that kind of dejection, it's endearing to me. Troy Eisley is a very genuine person. That's what I like. He's very down to earth, very genuine, and he holds himself accountable. And I think that's part of why he's a humble kind of character person. He constantly holds himself. He has his problems with confidence. For as much as I talked about Tyler Howard's lack of confidence, Troy Eisley lacks confidence sometimes too. There was opportunities when Howard wasn't doing anything for Troy to let his hands go and rip his combinations, but he didn't. And then you see, and I love that Troy is hard on himself and holds himself accountable, but I think that also sometimes has him tight in there, and doesn't want to make a mistake, doesn't want to fuck up, wants to follow through on what Bo Mack has been teaching him, wants to stay sharp and disciplined. He's got to relax a little bit and feel himself a little bit, look in the mirror and flex and go, these boys can't fuck with me. He has to have a little bit more of that. But those are the same things that makes me like him personally. He's very humble, very down to earth. But, loosen up a little bit too, Troy. Easier said than done in that ring, in the hurt business. But, another Troy Eisley kind of performance where, my verdict on Troy Eisley is right now he's not fighting good enough to become the middleweight champion. But that doesn't mean, as long as this division stays as wide open as it is, where you got Janibek who's good, Adames who's heavy-handed, but Adames is still the guy who lost to Patrick Teixeira, who hasn't done anything of note since that time. So he's beatable, even if he's gotten better since losing to Teixeira. Janibek's good, but he's not invincible. He's not a pound for pounder. He's a good champion level fighter. He's the best we got at 160 right now. But if this division remains wide open, I don't count Troy Eisley out of overachieving his way to a belt. He's going to have to rise to the occasion. He's going to have to go beyond. He's going to have to find another gear, and he's going to have to put all his skills and all his USA boxing pedigree into the pot and overachieve and rise to the occasion and upset a Janibek, which I think is in his character. He could pull something like that off, but right now, on paper, on tape, he's not beating Janibek. So we'll see what happens. So yeah. So now we got, 140 people in here. That's good. I appreciate that, everyone. And now main event time is in 8 minutes. Gustavo Lemos. Tell me he doesn't look like Brian Castano. He even has the soul patch like Brian Castano. He's even an above-average puncher who throws combinations and is short on the inside like Brian Castano. So, let me see here. Let me see the chat. So out of 126 votes, 65% for Keyshawn, 35% to Lemos. And tomorrow, okay, so we got a minute in between fights. You know, I went back and watched tape this morning of the first Boots Ennis Karan Jukajan fight. That fight's not as trash a rematch as I originally thought. I actually think the rematch, it can't be worse, but it's going to be better than the first fight, and it could actually be a little competitive, more than people think, because Jukajan, we're just talking about with Tyler Howard, right? He didn't have that belief, but there was openings there. There was opportunities there that he left on the table because he wasn't willing to walk through that door. He didn't believe. He was timid. And going back and watching the first Boots Ennis Jukajan fight, you know, Ennis has to tighten things up on the front foot and tighten things up defensively. He has a lot of defensive flash and talent and ability, but the chin isn't tucked, and sometimes he's not efficient on defense. He feels like he's got to pull out all the sauce to make a guy miss, when sometimes, you know, just catch, block, catch, keep it simple sometimes. Sometimes you don't need all that. And sometimes he'll, you know, waste a lot of movement defensively, like, oh, right here, you know, all this crazy stuff. And on the front foot, there was times he lost his balance. Like, there was 2 separate times against Jukajan, he loaded up on a hook on the front foot and had to do a 360, turn his whole back to him. And it's because Ennis has a very wide base. And when he has to fight on the front foot, sometimes his base gets a little bit off balance. And Jukajan had times, because he's got that Eastern European style, good balance, you know, that feigning lead hand and bouncing, you know, lots of bounce in his step. Jukajan actually had openings for his right hand, and Jukajan had openings because there was some fat on Ennis's punches. Ennis wasn't cutting the ring off, and sometimes he'd load up on shots on the front foot and give away some of his balance. His base would get wide, and Jukajan had shorter punches at times and actually had the positioning to make Ennis pay, but he wouldn't let it go because Ennis is Ennis. You know, okay, you make him pay like Thomas Delorme, right? You catch him with a right hand, he eats it, and then has the athleticism and the creativity to hit you with shots you don't see coming from all kinds of angles, and now he's punctuating the exchange and you're flat on your back. Big reason why Jukajan didn't take those chances. But the opportunities were there. And so if Ennis fights the exact same way he did in the first fight, he doesn't tighten things up on the front foot, he could be vulnerable, and Jukajan can make this fight competitive. Anything's possible, maybe even get an upset. I wouldn't put money on that. But Jukajan might catch him with some shots and make it a more competitive fight. And then if Ennis does tighten things up on the front foot, then that just means instead of, you know, kind of not being able to cut the ring off and, you know, just having this guy using excessive movement and a dull fight, you know, plays out, he may be more proficient in cutting off the ring I think what I suspect is both fighters are going to be better, kind of like we just saw with Oshaki Foster and Robeson Conceição. I think Jukajan getting a second bite at the apple, getting to fight for a world title again, I think he lets his balls hang a little bit more and takes more chances. And I think Ennis, who will have taken a look at the tape the first time, he'll see things he had to get better at and correct. And I think Ennis will be better. So I actually think this fight tomorrow night in Philly is going to definitely be better than the first fight. I still think Ennis is going to win, but Jukajan had some opportunities in that first fight when you look back at the tape, and I think he'll take more chances this time. I got Ennis, but again, rewatching that first fight, I don't think the second fight is going to be as trash as people are expecting. So, Sean, what's Keyshawn's weight in the locker room? Tim keeps mentioning Lemos' weight, but never mentioned Keyshawn. I think that, Keyshawn's probably going to be anywhere from 146 to 151, let's say. So I think Lemos will have anywhere from a 5 to a 10-pound weight advantage on Keyshawn. And, this is going to be a really good test for Keyshawn. If he's a good enough skilled craftsman that Lemos is never able to get on the inside, that's impressive. If Lemos is able to get on the inside, but Keyshawn has the whiskers to hold up to a guy who's a weight class heavier with real solid power, then now we know Keyshawn has a chin. So we really can't lose tonight with Keyshawn because, again, if he's good enough that Lemos is blunted offensively, he can't get in the phone booth and let go of combinations. Wow, Keyshawn has a really good sense of distance and has enough power that Lemos didn't get reckless in there. But if Keyshawn isn't this master distance boxer and we get a firefight and Keyshawn can take it as well as he could dish it out, well, now we know that this talented fighter also has a good chin. So I'm looking forward to this main event. Ring walks are in less than 2 minutes. Let's go. Sean, please fight me in Undisputed after the stream. I'm very good at the broken game, but I don't use X-Point and cheese punches, not at all. Might have to range check that for tomorrow, Titus. I'm probably going to just talk about the fight and then hang out with family tonight. But tomorrow, Titus, we could run it after the Boots Ennis stream. Let's do it. I hope you got time for tomorrow then. But shout out to Jennifer. What's up? Hello, Ghetto. Lemos kind of looks like Sergio Martinez. I really think he looks like Brian Castano. What's up, Edwin? What's up, Edwin? Mr. Quake asked, how's the family? Family's great. Family's upstairs hanging out. And Dad, man, he looks like Brian Castano, chat. I know I'm right about this. And he fights like him. Just period. That's the comparison. We don't need to bring up Carlos Monzon. We don't need to bring up Marcos Maidana. We don't need to bring up Maravilla Martinez. Brian Castano is the Argentina fighter that Gustavo Lemos resembles. In style, in looks, in build. Did I think Lemos beat Hitchens? I personally thought he did enough to win that fight. Close fight. The kind of fight that could have went either way. If you're Lemos, you feel like, of course, they gave the benefit of the doubt to the American kid on the Matchroom USA card. He has a right to feel that way. A lot of people thought Lemos won the fight. I thought Hitchens edged it, 7-5, but it really was the type of fight that if Lemos would have won, I wouldn't have protested it. It was a close fight. So Tim G says the 6 pounds is really scaring me for this fight. It should, because when weight classes matter, man, and again, I want to see, again, Keyshawn has those thin legs, and every fighter has flaws. I love his strengths. He's got an excellent jab. He's got some great pull counters. He's excellent in between shots. He's a very creative, dynamic combination puncher. He's a doubles hitter, a triples hitter. He's not a home run hitter. He's not a home run hitter like Garcia with the left hook, like Tank Davis. But he has power. He's a doubles and a triples hitter, I'll say. And he's got really good hand speed. And he mixes up the combinations to the head and the body beautifully. And a great jab to set everything up. But But again, I do wonder if sometimes he's a little too upright, and if those thin legs, if they're not great shock absorbers for when he has to take clean shots against guys with real power. So we'll see. You know, like any other guy on the climb, there's things you like and there's things you have questions about that you need to see play out in the ring before you say, okay, he checks this box or he doesn't check this box. So I do, champ. PSN name is Earth is Flat 23. Okay, Sean, got you. That's a pretty cool name. Pretty funny name. Molly Mall says Lemos coming in at junior middleweight, dog. He is, but Keyshawn's probably coming in at welterweight. Or maybe, yeah, he's definitely coming in at welterweight. Definitely coming in at welterweight. Maybe a light junior middleweight himself. But Lemos coming to the ring, confident, unprofessional of him to blow weight. But I saw people on social media not sympathize for Keyshawn Davis because they felt, why should we sympathize for him pulling a 140-pound fighter down to lightweight anyways? But you know, Lemos agreed to 135 pounds, but that's how it's kind of played out. Keyshawn doesn't really have a lot of sympathy on his side, despite Lemos blowing the weight by 6 pounds, because hardcore boxing fans are saying, hey, you brought that guy down from 140 to 135, so you know we're not playing the violin. We don't feel bad for you. So, but it works out well for Keyshawn Davis because I said it earlier. Not only is he calling out the top dogs at 135, he's calling out the top dogs who've moved up from 135 to 140 in Ryan, Devin, Tio. So tonight he gets to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He gets to prove he's one of the top 5 or 6 lightweights, and he gets to beat a guy that is, you know, a top 10 type of level junior welterweight. So he gets to prove that he's a legit contender in 2 weight classes kind of tonight. That's the upside of Lemos. Totally, there's no consistency with how I'm pronouncing Lemos tonight. 1 minute it's going to be Lemos, the next minute it's going to be Lemos, but there you go. Let's see. Got almost 200 people in the chat. What's going on, everybody? Let's get ready for main event time. Keyshawn Davis coming to the ring now. Okay, so we see all the Virginia. Got Michael Vick in the house. Bruce Smith in the house. The great Pernell Whitaker was given a tribute for a second there. And now it looks like Keyshawn is going to come to the ring with probably like a high school band. Maybe it's the high school he went to. One of the local high schools in Norfolk, Virginia. And you know what's funny? I just saw a chat. I just saw the, yeah, it's a high school marching band. But or maybe it's college. I don't know. But it's a marching band from Virginia. But I just saw that movie Piece by Piece from the Lego movie with Pharrell. And it's kind of funny to me because the whole movie is about Pharrell coming out of Virginia and becoming this superstar who grew up in Virginia. And it shows how Timbaland, you know, the great producer Timbaland and Pharrell and the Neptunes, how they all came out of Virginia. And it kind of showed that, you know, Norfolk and Virginia Beach are these special places where there's talent, there's energy there. And so funny enough, a couple weeks after taking my son to go see the Lego movie, now it's this big celebration of Virginia. And maybe Keyshawn Davis in his field, in his craft, boxing, is like a Pharrell or a Timbaland. He can come out of Virginia and represent Virginia and become this national star coming out of Virginia. We'll see. But he's got the crowd really into it as he comes to the ring. That place looks pretty packed to capacity. A lot of people with lights and cell phones out. And, you know, Keyshawn Davis came home with a silver medal. That must have resonated with his hometown in Virginia, the hometown of Pernell Whitaker. And I really love, we got to get back to this. Boxing is undergoing a reset in the United States, it feels like. You know, outside of Canelo and Gervonta, everyone's crapped out at the poker table. No one can sell in America for the most part. Ryan can and Devin could together. You know, Devin sold out in his hometown, you know, quasi-hometown of San Francisco against Regis. Crawford can sell out in Nebraska. Keyshawn is sold out in Virginia. Guys got to get back to selling out in their hometowns and this works against my interest. I live in Vegas. I make my money covering fights in Vegas, but you really should only come to Vegas when you can pack an arena in Vegas. Otherwise, pack an arena wherever you can pack an arena. And if that's your hometown, take it to the hometown. Because eventually, these same 10,000 people in Norfolk, they will go to Las Vegas when it's time to go to Las Vegas. I've seen it happen with Terrence Crawford. I've seen it happen with David Benavidez when he fought Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade. A lot of those folks that attended his fights in Phoenix, they became lifelong fans because he showed out in his homecoming fights. And so now they're willing to pay that hotel room, pay the gas money to drive into Vegas or the flight money and travel, Felix Trinidad fighting in New York, fighting, in Puerto Rico on the come up. Eventually, those fans, when it was time to fight De La Hoya or Vargas in Vegas, they made the trip. They spent the money, and so that's a model that you gotta fuck with in boxing. You gotta sell out your hometown. You gotta let guys build a foundation in their hometowns. So both guys in the ring. Lemos has a good sweat worked up. Davis, by comparison, a little draw, but Davis coming into the ring with a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence. And I think this might be his sisters singing the national anthem. It's a lot going on at once for Keyshawn Davis. He's got the band. He's got his sisters singing the national anthem. He's headlining as the main event. 10,000 people there to see him. Stars and someone, if he's a star, if he's special, he could take all this pressure and a guy who blew the weight and make a statement and make people believers. But for a lot of fighters, this is a lot of bells and whistles that can make you just for a second take your eye off the ball and cause an ugly upset in his hometown. Or we could see Keyshawn show that he's got special in him, that that he can become a star. So very interested to see what we get as his sisters complete this national anthem right now. So we shall see. Yeah, Missy Elliott came out of Virginia too. That's right. What's good, Raider Reaper? So, yep, just finishing up the national anthem. All right, back to boxing. All week was politics, and now we get to some boxing tonight and tomorrow. Tay-Day, what's up, Tay-Day? Tay-Day says Keyshawn by TKO. Gonna be tough. Gonna be tough to get a guy out of there a weight class heavier, but Lemos will be probably applying the pressure. Force meets force, and against an aggressive fighter, you'll have your opportunities to hurt him, but he's coming to hurt you too, so we'll see. Davis did put away Pedraza. So now let's see what this overweight guy's plan is. His plan is going to probably be to apply pressure, cut the distance, and rough Keyshawn up on the inside. Keyshawn's going to need to keep this guy at distance with the jab a little bit, run him in and counterpunch. Because if Keyshawn gets on his bike and tries to win the fight by just turning Lemos, he could do that a fair bit, but there's going to have to be times Keyshawn runs him into counters with some bad intentions on him. And that's what it'll produce, but because trying to turn him off the jab, maybe that could lead to a win, but it might not give the statement he's looking for in his hometown. But winning is first and foremost the most important thing. So what's up, Mike B? Mike B says, Ola from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Shout out, brother. What's going on? Desmond, Harvey says, Keyshawn has the best team in boxing and the best coach in Bomac. He'll be fine. He still got to go in there and fight. I hear you. Bomac's a great coach, the reigning trainer of the year. Keyshawn revealed this week he was in a mental home. That's crazy. So I admire him getting in the boxing ring after going through those kinds of bouts mentally, going through the weed stuff. And so if any of that is, psychologically leaving him vulnerable, Lemos might be able to exploit that. But Keyshawn's got his game face on and looks ready to show out in front of his crowd. And if he does that, it'll move the needle for him. This is a chance for him to definitely move the needle forward in his progression as a fighter. So Allen Iverson is from Virginia too. Damn, yeah, they got some good ones. They got some heavy hitters. They got some heavy hitters from Virginia. All right, Gustavo Lemos, the IBF number 6 lightweight contender. Last fight, I was there ringside. Lost very close to Richardson Hitchens. It was a good enough win that Hitchens is now fighting for the title, although Hitchens was already the mandatory before that win. But Lemos, 5'5", a short lightweight, a short light welterweight, 28 years old, in his prime. Again, most resembles Brian Castano stylistically. In my opinion. Quick hands on the inside, good solid power. Not going to get anything done on the outside against the long arms and the jab and the combinations of Keyshawn. But if he can get in the pocket, if he can get in the phone booth with Keyshawn, that's how he can win this fight. And again, Keyshawn's got those thin legs, and the power could be an issue, especially with him outweighing him by a weight class on the official scales. So we'll see. Very interesting fight about to kick off. So, what's up, Georgie? Chris Brown from Virginia. Is he? I don't know. Is he? Not a Chris Brown fan. That was once I kind of wasn't feeling music by the time he started coming around in the mid-late 2000s. But Keyshawn, the number 6 ranked lightweight, the number 2 ranked by the IBF, but my man L-Dub Boxing just reported that with Zepeda set to fight for the WBC interim title, he's going to be dropped from the IBF rankings, which is going to make Keyshawn the number 1 contender for the IBF title, held by Vasyl Lomachenko, who may or may not retire. So I think what's more likely, if Keyshawn gets past this test, he gets Baranchyk. Or maybe Murataya gets Baranchyk. Or maybe Murataya fights for the vacant. One of these guys, Murataya and Davis, is going to be fighting for the WBO, and the other one's going to be fighting for the IBF. So I don't know which one will go where, but that's what I think is next for Keyshawn if he wins tonight. So here we go. All right, round 1 set to start. Both fighters coming to the center of the ring for instructions. Again, Lemos with a better warm-up than Keyshawn. Keyshawn is dry. Lemos nice and warmed up, got a good sweat worked up. George Foreman, that was a pet peeve of his on the old HBO broadcast. He hated it when a fighter was dry heading into that first round. And so we'll see here. All right. Keyshawn, Gustavo Lemos, set to fight. Big test for Keyshawn Davis here. Keyshawn looks good physically. Looks like he's rehydrated well. Looks strong. But Lemos is going to have some pounds on him tonight. All right. Both fighters getting their bounce on in their corners. Round 1 and we're off. Let's see what we got. Lemos coming forward behind a left hook and a sweeping right hand. Davis takes a step out of range to make him fall short. Good jab to the body by Keyshawn Davis to start. Davis lead hand low, picks it back up, stepping over to his left on the back foot, using the jab early on. Davis cuffs the top of Lemos' head, circles out to his left, gets in the center of the ring, lands a nice jab. Lemos trying to put Davis on his heels, but that jab of Davis keeping him in control in the first 30 seconds. Lemos trying to get in with a leaping uppercut, and Davis steps out of range again. Leaping left hook by Lemos, and he falls short, gets countered by a straight right hand by Davis. Davis putting that jab in there, and his back touches the ropes, but he pushes off on Lemos and shoots the jab and a right hook to the body. Nice 2 punches to the body there by Davis. Good jab to the body by Davis. Steps over and shoots a left hook to the body by Davis. Davis touching that body early and imposing that jab, doing what he's supposed to do in the first minute. Good, 2 good jabs by Keyshawn. And Lemos already in the eyes seems to respect that jab of Keyshawn. Keyshawn nice and relaxed in there when his back touches the ropes, making a funny face at Lemos after he clinches him and gets him back in the center of the ring. Lemos misses the left hook, misses the chopping right hand. Davis exits back into the center of the ring, jab to the body. Good stab jab to the body by Davis early on. Davis is back near the ropes. Lemos falling short, winging shots, and Davis exits back into the center of the ring. Big right hand by Davis just off the mark, trying to sit down in the center of the ring and shoot a right hand, but Lemos turned the shot, didn't get hit by it. Davis back in the center of the ring, shoulder roll stance a little bit, stiff arms with that jab, pushes Lemos back into to the center of the ring. Lemos trying to paw with his lead hand and sweep a right hand to the body, but Davis with good footwork. Davis keeping Lemos on the end of his shots and a left hook right hand in the center of the ring, using those long arms very well and with a little bit more power than Richardson Hitchens to get Lemos's respect. Keep him in his tracks from his jab. Lemos with his first shot of the fight, a chopping right hand to the body. He switches southpaw, closes the gap on Davis. Davis turns him, gets back in the center of the ring. Davis with a stiff arm jab and shoots a sweeping right hand to the body. Davis sweeps underneath the sweeping right hand of Lemos, but Lemos gets two left hooks into the body. Davis leaving that elbow down to catch him. Davis is back on the ropes. Good body work by Lemos, and he finishes up with a right hook up top on the top of Davis's head. So Lemos getting himself alive with some work here in the last minute, but it's been a good Keyshawn Davis round. Lead left hook just off the mark for Lemos, and another lead left hook. Davis with his back on the ropes keeps Lemos off with that lead hand. Good combination at the bell by Keyshawn Davis. And that'll do it. 10-9 Keyshawn did a good job with that jab and turning Lemos, but Lemos was able to cut the distance in spots and make Keyshawn's back touch the ropes. Keyshawn able to, pivot him and turn him into the center of the ring, but Lemos did finally get some work done in that last 30 or 40 seconds. Stepped in and got some work done to the body. Keyshawn elbows in tight, so it's not like that body work was getting around the elbow to the sweet spot, but still some decent work by Lemos. But 10-9 for Keyshawn Davis. Good long jab, and unlike Richardson Hitchens, that jab keeping Lemos planted in his tracks when he stabs it to the body or stabs it up top. But Lemos was able to cut the distance a little bit, and Keyshawn a little sloppy with his mouthpiece. It got tossed out of the ring. Hopefully someone found it for him. I still don't know. Did they find the mouthpiece? They get it back in there? Yeah, I think they did. Man, it would suck if Keyshawn lost against Lemos because dude is just too big. T Swaff said, Sean, the black-loving Italian going for the black man. I don't know about all that. I mean, I love black people. I love everybody. But if Lemos, the Argentinian, they got a lot of Italians in Argentina. If he starts whooping Keyshawn's ass, I'll call the action. And Lemos getting in close, letting go of a combat. Right hand drops Gustavo Lemos. Now what do you have to say, T-Swerf? Straight right hand drops Gustavo Lemos. Davis creating a little bit of room on the back foot. Lemos trying to load up on combinations, walks into a straight right hand. That's force meeting force. The aggression of Lemos working against him there. Beautiful straight right hand. Lemos is up, trying to apply pressure, trying to get some get back. Nice right hand to the body by Keyshawn. And a left hook drops Gustavo Lemos. Beautiful left hook by Keyshawn. Lemos is down a second time off the left hook. He's badly hurt. He's smiling, but his legs aren't underneath him. Keyshawn is dancing in the corner. And a star-making performance coming out. A jab to the body sets up a right hand. And a combination by Keyshawn. And a sweeping right hand drops Gustavo Lemos. It's a second-round knockout for Keyshawn Davis. A star-making performance where he showed length. He showed his jab. He showed power. He showed an ability to counter-punch and lead with the jab, turn his man, and then ultimately punch with bad intentions. Punch with spite and punch in between Lemos's punches. 2 rounds, despite Lemos being a weight class above. Beautiful performance by Keyshawn Davis. A statement made in front of 10,000 people at home. By taking the fight, having the belief in himself to go ahead with a fight with Gustavo Lemos, who came in at 141, he just proved that he can hang with all those 140, not just 135, but he called out a lot of 140 pounders like Tio, like Devin, like Ryan, and he knocked out a 140 pounder while fighting at lightweight. He didn't even get to come in as a light welterweight himself. He fought as a lightweight against a light welterweight and knocked him out in 2 rounds and kind of showed everything. Showed an ability to turn his guy, have a great jab, and then when it was time to put together the heavy artillery, didn't play with his food, got his man out of here, dropped him with a right hand, dropped him with a left hook, so he showed power in both hands. 10 out of 10, an A-plus performance for Keyshawn Davis. He puts lightweight and light welterweight on notice. And again, Gustavo Lemos is a tough customer. Gustavo Lemos, if you let him get inside, is very proficient as a combination puncher. If Richardson Hitchens goes on to beat Liam Paro, which he may or may not, that's a 50-50 type fight, then that shows you without a shadow of a doubt Keyshawn Davis is ready for any champion at 135 and 140, because Hitchens will be a champion if he could get past Liam Paro. And Hitchens went life or death at the full 140-pound limit against Gustavo Lemos, and that's what Keyshawn just did to him. That's the definition of a statement, ladies and gentlemen. So, where was that guy T-Swerf at who thought I was, I was just, I told you all before this, it was a rigged for hype jobs, black fighting tomato cans. Gotta, I don't think that's a good look, brother. I think Keyshawn's just good, and that was a really good performance. How was it rigged for him? He fought him, a weight class above. He's just better than Gustavo. Anyways, who cares? Thank you for coming by the chat. So, is Keyshawn a better pro than Shakur at this point? I think, look, Shakur is coming up from 126, and he hasn't yet been the fighter, except for the Yoshino fight. But no disrespect to Yoshino, but at the world-class level at 135, who is Yoshino? And outside of the Yoshino fight, Shakur hasn't looked like the 130-pound Shakur at 135. Keyshawn has the size and apparently the power to knock out a light welterweight. So Keyshawn has more power than Shakur. He's a better combination puncher than Shakur. He's bigger than Shakur. Yes, Keyshawn might indeed be the better lightweight than Shakur Stevenson. But that being said, Shakur, WBO champ at 126, WBC, WBO champ at 130. He's the WBC champ at 135. He's a 4-time world title holder in 3 weight classes. Keyshawn hasn't even fought in a world title fight yet. But I suspect Keyshawn is the better lightweight, is the better 135-pounder. Now, if their careers both ended today, he didn't sniff Shakur's level of accomplishment as a professional. But I think Shakur coming up from 26, being shaky in his performances at 35, yes, I think Keyshawn may very well be the more formidable lightweight. Yes. So, yeah, I like Keyshawn too. This was great. Keyshawn has a really excellent jab. He's a really good offensive fighter. We still got to see what happens when he gets hit by a guy with some real power. I know Madueno was it, but I mean a guy who doesn't just have power like Madueno, but has the skills to find the mark with accuracy and power. Let's see how Keyshawn holds up against that. But Keyshawn is really good, man, and he's fun to watch. That was really, really good. That was really good. And, he has a good personality. He's battled getting out of the mental health, the mental home, and got a good smile. Was an Olympian, won the silver medal. It's good. Boxing in America needs stars. And Keyshawn tonight showed star ability, star potential. So I give him a 10. That was excellent. Now because if it's really to his benefit that Lemos blew the weight, because if he wouldn't have, then rightfully so, people would say, this was a top-ranked cherry pick. They brought down a light welterweight to lightweight, and then obviously he was drained by the weight, and so we don't really know how real what we just saw was. But because Lemos came in at 140, his real weight, and Keyshawn knocked him out in 2 rounds, we know that Keyshawn's probably for real. He does have a good smile, T-Swift. He does. He does have a good smile. Emiliano Vargas has a good smile. Oscar did. I can name, since you want to race bait, non-black fighters with great smiles. Who's I just did? Jason Litzow had a great smile. The American boy. Manny Pacquiao had a great smile. Great smiles, they're inviting. That's one of the things you need as a star. Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, Oscar De La Hoya, they had great. Mike Tyson with the gap tooth, great smile. You need this. These are things you have to look at. It's called marketability. It's called star appeal. So, School of Skills says that's Lil Bud. I get what you mean. I know what you mean. I asked Keyshawn, you can go back, School of Skills, and watch my interview with Keyshawn heading into this fight, where I asked, where does the improvisation, the creative and dynamic selection of punches in the exchanges come from? And he said Terrence Crawford, training with Terrence Crawford. He literally, that was the first, name out of his mouth was Terrence Crawford. So to your point, there you go. I really liked look, so many times on this stream, my job is to nitpick and point out what was good, what wasn't good. And so when you get a fighter that headlines and delivers expectations and then some, that's always fun to watch. We talked about Keyshawn heading into the fight. Is he a little light in the ass? Or his legs a little too skinny? Okay, he's got a good jab, but is he really a guy that can dominate with that jab? Okay, he's a double. I said before the fight, he's a doubles and a triples hitter, but he's not a home run hitter. He's got good pop in his punches, but he's not a one-punch concussive knockout artist like Tank or Ryan Garcia. So for him to go, well, fuck the talk about doubles and triples. I'm hitting a home run in the 2nd inning. And for him to show that dominant jab and, he blew past expectations tonight, and that's good. Boxing, especially in the United States, needs fighters that deliver and exceed past expectations when the spotlight's on them, not fail to live up to them, like can often happen. So I give kudos to Keyshawn Davis. This was a 10 out of 10. So, Uncle Stepdaddy Jr. said you can definitely see it. Even how he cuts the ring off is very Crawford-esque. Yeah, his power is maturing, says Bradley Taylor. Marvelous Herb said covering boots tomorrow. I am. I'm covering boots tomorrow. So, yeah. All that training with Crawford paid off, says School of Skills. It did. That was good stuff, man. I enjoyed that. That was really good. What's he saying now?
Was a hell of a national anthem, I have to say, maybe. Anything else you want to tell the fans?
Hey, for everybody that supported us all week, or even in the beginning, for the ones that didn't even know us or knew us in the beginning, I appreciate y'all for supporting us, man. This was a spectacular night, and it could have been amazing without y'all fans. Give y'all a hand clap before y'all go, man.
Let's call Keyshawn Davis he was cannabis in the LL Cool J battle. He got the 2nd round knockout. But that was excellent by Keyshawn. Boxing needs more of this in the States. Put a talented guy that you're trying to build, put him in his hometown, match him against a legit guy, and at that moment, it's up to the fighter to deliver. And Keyshawn Davis delivered tonight. So, again, I can't say enough. It was really good. Now, does that mean he beats Tank? Does that mean he beats Shakur? Does that mean he beats Lomachenko? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I think he beats Zepeda. I think he beats Baranchek. I don't hesitate in those matchups. I think he beats Murataya. And I think, the Lomachenko fight, we don't know if Loma's going to continue. Him and Shakur are never going to fight, which kind of sucks for us, but okay, that's their prerogative. And then Tank, him and Tank would be an awesome fight. Keyshawn's still green. Tank is, more in his prime. Keyshawn is beginning to enter his prime now. I think this is the moment where he's going to begin to really jump off now and he's taking that next step now. But he's a problem for anybody. I think even up at 140, same thing. He's a problem for anybody. He brings a lot to the table. So, Tank is garbage? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Tank has skill, power, and speed. He just needs to prove himself at the highest level. He turned 30 yesterday? Done some good things, but not great things. He hasn't done anything great, and his 20s are officially over. So, the time has already been for a minute now for him to unify, prove he's one of the top 5. If he is one of the top 5, I think he's one of the top 10 pound for pound. I think he's been one of the top 10 pound for pound for a couple years, but hasn't been able to climb into that top 5. He's got to fight other guys on that pound for pound list. So, anyway, Keyshawn beats Denis Berinchyk easily. I said that before this fight, and I say it now. I think Berinchyk, he got Navarrete. Berincyk's not Loma. Berincyk's not. He's not Bakram Murtazaliev, who I underrated a couple weeks ago. I think he's very beatable. I think Keyshawn beats him. I think Murataya beats him. I think either one of the top-ranked guys transitioning to the title level in Murataya and Davis, I think they both beat him. I think he benefited from an out-of-shape Navarrete quite a bit, who's not really a lightweight, it turns out. So, Keyshawn should get a title shot right now. I think he's going to get a title shot right now. I think he either fights. He's either going to fight for the WBO or the IBF title. And sure enough, right here, he's holding the WBO and IBF regional belts. And it's either going to be Berinchyk, who I have no doubt in my mind he beats, or it's going to be Lomachenko or Lomachenko's vacant title. Top Rank's going to have Murataya and Keyshawn split those two fights up. One of them's going to fight for the WBO. The other one's going to fight for the IBF. So, Andy Cruz beats both these guys. I don't know if Andy beats Keyshawn in the pros. The pros is a different beast than the amateurs. He may just have his number. He might just have Keyshawn's number. Pros, amateurs, street fight, video games. Andy Cruz might just beat Keyshawn Davis at things in life. Head-to-head. Or, like Miguel Cotto against Muhammad Abdullayev, but plenty of times, guys that have your number in the amateurs, they have your number in the pros. Tarver with Roy, Vernon Forrest with Shane Mosley with Oscar, but other times, like Miguel Cotto against Muhammad Abdullayev, guys that beat you in the Olympics. Muhammad Abdullayev beat Cotto in the Olympics. They fought in the pros. Cotto knocked them out. So, we really don't know until they meet in the pros. But I think Keyshawn right now, if you compare their last fights, Andy Cruz when he fought on that Crawford card in LA in August, and you compare it to what Keyshawn did tonight, I think Keyshawn was more impressive. But, he did beat Keyshawn 4 times. They got to see each other in the pros for us to find out. We don't really know. But what I saw in their most recent outings, I think Davis wins. I think Davis beats Cruz in the pros. So, Andy Cruz beat Keyshawn when he was a professional already. No, what did he have? 1 or 2? You might be right. He had 1 or 2 pro fights, like on the Canelo undercard, and then I gotta go through the timeline. You might be right. Keyshawn might have had 1 or 2 fights, but they're both now they're entering the real meat and potatoes of their career as pros. This isn't them fresh out the amateurs into the pros. If they were to fight now, it's Keyshawn much more settled in as a professional than he was back in the 2021 Olympic stuff, So, just my opinion, based on their most recent fights, I would give the edge to Keyshawn, actually, in the pros. Let me see. Jamo MC said Keyshawn versus Tank, Keyshawn versus Shakur, Keyshawn versus T.O. Book it. I'm with it. Keyshawn looks just about ready for anybody now. It's still just, it's just Lemos. He's not crazy, but It's nothing crazy, but the fashion in which he got Lemos out of there is what was eye opening. And I think the Hitchens-Paro fight will tell us a lot about Keyshawn. If Hitchens beats Paro, then you really got to look at this win as wow. But if Paro knocks out Hitchens or Hitchens gets battered in that fight, then okay, still a good performance that you got a 140-pounder out of there in 2 rounds. But okay, you pumped the, not as spectacular a showing, but we'll see. Main, what's up, Main? Said the first knockdown reminded me of Crawford 100%. It was beautiful. It was a straight right hand. And Lemos, give credit to Lemos. He came to win. He came to let his hands go. And he tried to do what he did against Hitchens. And Keyshawn, unlike Hitchens, had some anchor, had something in his shots to stop him in his tracks and drop him. And then that second knockdown, that left hook, it left him, it was a little baby shades of Tyson against Berbick. Berbick going down 3 times on 1 hook. He made him go down twice off a hook. And then that last one, that third knockdown, when the fight was already waved off, he's showing the combinations and then sweeps a right hand and drops him a third time. Just, really good stuff. So, but, all right, chat. I'm going to do a reaction video in a minute. Put that on Twitter. Put that on the channel. If there's anything else anybody wants to get out to me before we close shop for the night and get ready for tomorrow, Jaron Ennis, Bam Rodriguez, let me know. But if you haven't hit the like, please. Keyshawn washes Frank Martin. I do think he beats Frank Martin, yeah, for sure. Key is off the weed, so he's got stamina now. Good point, Desmond. What do I think about Keyshawn and Frank? Yeah, I favor Keyshawn. Frank is getting by on his athleticism a lot. That's why he had that excessive movement. Frank is good. That's still a good fight. But Frank has short arms, has those T-Rex arms a little bit compared to Keyshawn. Keyshawn has a better jab. Keyshawn has a better jab, longer arms, and he has better vision in the exchanges. He can find the mark. He's got a better punch arsenal too. A lot of Frank Martin's best work is his straight left hand, like Tank noted before the fight. Keyshawn's got a little bit of everything. He's got body work. He's got the jab. He's got the left hook and the right hand, like he showed tonight. And then he's got an arsenal beyond the basic punches. He can kind of like guys in the chat keep talking about Terrence Crawford. He can throw punches at different types of angles. It's not like the last right hand he knocked down Lemos with. It wasn't a right hook, and it wasn't a straight right hand, and it wasn't a right uppercut. It was like a mixture. It was a different type. It was a sweeping shot, a creative kind of sweeping shot with the right hand. And then he has those knifing uppercuts. He'll throw a jab to the body and then split the high guard with the uppercut. He's dynamic. He's creative offensively. And Frank fights on his athleticism and really wants to land the straight left hand. So Keyshawn's more unpredictable. He's longer. He's been boxing from a younger age. He's got a better amateur pedigree. Yes, I favor Keyshawn to beat Frank Martin. So Tio versus Keyshawn. Yeah. It's got to go up to 140 first. But, I mean, Keyshawn against anybody is fun. How can you not feel that way after what he did? So let me see that last knockdown again. Hold up. Let me see what the punch selection. Yeah, ooh, sweeping right hand. Left hook to the body. And then he kind of threw like it was half uppercut, half right hand. So a sweeping kind of right hand, half hook, half uppercut. Dropped him. Beautiful stuff. But Keyshawn not ready for Tank. Come on, man. Well, I mean, could he be more ready at 12 fights? Of course he can. He's still green compared to Tank, but I'd rather fucking see Keyshawn Davis fight Gervonta Davis than Lamont Roach. No disrespect to Lamont Roach, good fighter, 130-pound champion. We know that, but let me say that like Stephen A. I'd much rather see Javante Tank Davis fight Keyshawn Davis. I mean, last time I checked, Lamont Roach, he's legit 130-pound champion. We all know that. We all know that Lamont Roach is a tough fighter in his own right, but we don't want to pay. That's not box office. That's not big time. Keyshawn Davis tonight was big time, and I want to see him. I got the unmitigated gall to want to see him fight Tank Davis. I want to see Tank Davis fight somebody. So, yeah. So, yeah. What else is there to say? What more can I say? J-Doug said, once I seen the speed difference in the first round, I knew it was over. Yeah, speed kills. Speed definitely kills. Bob Arum told Keyshawn he'll make the Tio fight in 2025. I mean, I'm game. Keyshawn against anybody is like, I'm there. I'm tuned in. But I think realistically, he's had 12 fights. Okay, he knocked out Gustavo Lemos. In all likelihood, he's fighting for a vacant IBF title that Lomachenko will vacate if he retires. Or he's going to fight Denis Berinchyk, who I definitely think he beats. So, one step at a time. First, get a belt. Then next step. And these guys aren't going to really want to fight him. I don't think Tio really wants to fight him because Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo, Shakur, Tank, they're all established, unlike Keyshawn. They have accomplishments and all that to their name. So they don't fight a Keyshawn Davis unless it's for a lot of money. And Keyshawn's not there yet. So that's why that's why they likely wouldn't want to fight Keyshawn Davis. But from a boxing fan's perspective, yeah, Keyshawn against anybody sounds appetizing. So, let's see. Undisputed tonight, Sean. No, I'm gonna chill with the fam. I'm gonna do Undisputed tomorrow night. After the Boots fight. So. $9.99 SmackDown is Virginia. Was the first WWF SmackDown in Virginia? All kinds of Teddy Atlas is from Virginia. Now that's not actually true, right? Teddy Atlas is from Brooklyn, isn't he? But reason Shakur and Keyshawn not going to fight each other. Keyshawn moving up to 140. Keyshawn's going to get a belt first at 30. It's either Berinchyk or it's going to be a vacant IBF. I think if Lomachenko holds on to the IBF and doesn't retire, I don't know if Top Rank puts him in there with Loma. He could beat Loma. Don't get me wrong, he could. That's a competitive type fight. Loma is Loma. Even at 36, Loma's Loma. He's still really good. So, can't just pencil him in. But, this is traditionally a young man's game. And the natural order of things is that great fighters get older and lose to great up-and-coming younger fighters on their way up. That's the natural order of things. So Keyshawn, even 12 fights in, might be able to beat Lomachenko right now. Or Lomachenko could beat him. We'd have to see it. But I don't know if Top Rank would throw him in there with Lomachenko like that. Maybe, maybe not. But I think it's more likely he'd be fighting for the IBF if Loma retires. Otherwise, I think Top Rank's going to try to match him with Berinchyk. Let's see Keyshawn versus Murataya. That's the fight to make, says North. Not yet. Just not yet. It's not for anything. If they made it tomorrow, is it an interesting fight? Yes, but it wouldn't be for anything. It wouldn't be for a belt. Maybe they could fight for the vacant IBF. There you go. And I'd rather them make a fight too soon than too late. So it's not like I hate the fight, but what makes more sense is them each getting a belt and Top Rank building it up, kind of thing. But we'll see. Chesamain says, I don't think anyone bet on an early knockout. It was 100 to 1 for the first round or a second round KO. There you go. That shows you that Davis blew by expectations tonight. He exceeded them. yeah. But all right, Chad, I think I'm going to get out of here, man. Do my reactions and then get ready for tomorrow night. Wouldn't Loma want a cash-out fight if his career is coming to an end? Yes, that's another reason why I don't think you see Keyshawn and Loma. He'd be better off cashing out in a tank fight, on a pay-per-view fight, not a regular ESPN fight for a couple $1 million to defend his belt against Keyshawn, who might beat him. Fight Tank, who is shorter than Keyshawn, and you'll make a shit ton more money, and it'll actually be for 2 belts instead of 1. So, Molly Mall says, any updates of Benavidez Morel? Thank you for the super chat, Molly Mall. I'm a little concerned about that fight, Molly Mall, because PBC is struggling. That Tim Tszyu fight was probably really bankrolled by No Limit, Tszyu's Australian promoter, and they didn't draw anything. It was a very small venue, and then their guy got knocked out. And then so they had two Canelo cards, a Tank card, and 2 Tim Tszyu cards. That was it for 2024. And Tim Tszyu, being one of their 3 headliners, he lost both fights. So you can't bring him back as a headliner. And then the Tank Roach fight is kind of DOA. It's a fight that's only going to sell so well because nobody really wants to see it. So I wonder once you see Tank's fight get pushed back, at the least, if not maybe canceled, but at least pushed back with Roach, that makes you go like, uh-oh, and maybe Benavidez confirmed the Morel fight, but PBC never confirmed the Morel fight. Similar to Fundora and Spence, and similar to Tank and Roach, where, okay, ESPN's reporting it's done, and the fighters are reporting it's done, but PBC's not reporting it's done. And then what do you know? Actually, Spence and Fundora is not happening this year. Actually, Tank and Roach isn't happening this year. So is Benavidez Morel not happening January 25th then? Is that what's happening? So, and Benavidez Morel is a fight that's kind of a too good to be true fight. It's like, oh, this is really risky for both guys. This fight isn't built up to the point where it's a huge multi-million-dollar fight for both guys. They're both taking a risk. That's why it's so exciting. Like, they're both legit taking a risk. Like, oh, Morel, he could continue to fight veterans and kind of build his record, and then eventually, when it makes sense for him, take the step to the championship, the real championship level. Continue to season, and then get your hands on a belt. For Benavidez, you're risking it all against Morel. You could lose that fight. Morel is super talented, even if he's green. But the reason why we're excited for that fight, it's a legit risk on both sides. So, but maybe it's in jeopardy because Spence Fundora isn't happening in 2024. Lamont and Gervante's not happening in 2024. So is Benavidez Morel happening on January 25th like it was announced from the fighters and ESPN, but not from PBC? I don't know. We'll see. So we'll see. That's my update, Molly Mall. But all right, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna call it a night. I think that's about it. Guys, have a good one. Don't get ugly in the chat about the election and all that. Let's all respect each other. Talk about boxing with a high level of IQ. We can agree to disagree. But yeah, let's not get ugly in that chat, guys. I'd appreciate that. But don't ban nobody, Titus. You got to let people be people. But yeah, anyways, let's try and keep it by. We can get hostile. We could, if we're gonna name call, because we at least name call over boxing opinions. But all right, chat. I'm gonna get up out of here. God bless. Good night, and I'll see everybody, and hopefully more tomorrow night for Jerron Ennis and Bam Rodriguez co